Hey folks, welcome to our, I almost said welcome back in, habits, right? But I guess I can't say welcome back because this is the first video on our new Genshin channel, right? Still post, right? So, anyways, shout outs to anyone who followed from the main channel, and welcome if you're completely new as well. That's also obviously very, very nice. So, a while back, when I was playing the newest Archon Quest, or I guess it's technically Archon Interlude chapter, right? I enjoyed it a lot, right? I loved it personally, as you could probably tell already, right? And I tweeted it out on Twitter, something like, "Oh my god, that was the best Archon Quest ever," and it was so good it made me want to do Genshin content. And here we are now, I guess. We are actually doing Genshin content. So yeah, anyways, if you guys are new and do want to see, hopefully daily, no promises, but hopefully a daily Genshin content, right? Whether it's, so we get to talk about story stuff, music stuff, in Genshin, because I do think, the Genshin story is so underrated. Like, Genshin for like, a Gacha game has some fantastic story writing. Really, just fantastic story writing, and I do think it's not talked about enough. So I do want to talk about some of it, right? So yeah. Also, if you guys do like this sort of like format video, let me know in the comments down below if there's any other stories want us to go back and maybe review as well, right? But yeah, but also, character showcases. I have my Yunjin at C6, fully built up to the best of my abilities with my account limitations, right? So we can check that out. We're probably gonna do a C6 Yunjin video as well. I have some other fun ideas cooking as well, right? So yeah, make sure you guys do subscribe for the Genshin content, right? So yeah, I tweeted that out, and then for the first video on our Genshin channel, we're doing exactly that. We're gonna review again the Archon Interlude Chapter 1 and talk about it. Just some literary analysis, right? I'm not like a Nobel-winning writer or whatever, but I did take quite a few courses in both creative writing and literature analysis courses in my university, right? And I am trying to complete at least a minor for writing, a minor degree for writing. So we'll see how that goes. But yeah, I think we'd talk about this, the narrative, some of the characters, and why I think this was overall very, very well done, and just great overall a story, right? I'm not saying it's perfect, because there's definitely issues with it. This is not the Shakespearean tragedy or play or whatever, right? But I think for a video game story, I think it was very, very great, especially considering because this story, I think, even though it's only an interlude, I think has massive story implications for the overall Genshin world, especially for Liyue, right? I think it was a really, really great ending. Not that, they're ending the Liyue story. I'm sure there's probably going to be more stories for Liyue later, but it was a very great, ending for the whole Liyue arc up to now, right? Again, they might start something in the future, but I think it was a really, really nice conclusion that they drew over here, right? So I don't know why it's just an interlude. It's actually a pretty big deal, right, in terms of, again, the implications, right? So anyways, obviously the story is always subjective. You might like the story more than me, you might not like it as much as me, right? But I personally think it's probably my favorite interlude, or not my favorite Archon Quest. So let's actually get into this then. So yeah, a lot of great things happened in this story, right? Many great things. So we're gonna just go through this on like a YouTube video. Shout out to the channel that's posted on, right? Genshin Impact Quest Archive. I am using the Chinese voice just because that's what I'm used to listening. But all the voices are pretty nice. But yeah, here's a few things I thought the story did well. First of all, right? It had a very compelling narrative. It was a very great, I thought, conclusion to draw overall for the Liyue arc, as well as build up the new identity, right, for the Liyue people and the sort of like spirit that they have, right, which is very, very nice. And they built up a lot of great characters, right. It's not just that cool cutscene at the end. It's not just the great, you know, Yunjin opera performance, which I also love, which, by the way, speaking of, if we could get to, let's say, 5K subs on the channel, I'll cover the song for you guys. All right, we'll sing the song, the Yunjin opera. If you guys did that, would be cool. Anyways, so starting off, right, the story centers around, in my opinion, 3 main characters, right? If you're thinking, what? How's there 3? Isn't there just like 1? It's like Shenhe, which, you know, she is one of the main ones, right? Obviously, you know, it's kind of like her story quest, even though it very, very much seems like her story quest, even though it's an Archon quest, right? But it seems like a Shenhe story quest because she's like very, very much centered in it. But it's not really, right? It's because of the huge narrative overall story implications it has, right? It's not really her, but she is definitely prominently featured. She's definitely a main character, right? I'd say there's 3.5. There's also like the Traveler, because even though we didn't do like too many things, we're still like technically the protagonist of the game. But yeah, so one's Shenhe, obviously, right? Shenhe, she goes through obviously a lot of personal character changes and development and contributes to the overall main narrative of the story, right? The second one, I think, is Ningguang. Ningguang is definitely a main character in this one, right? I mean, she serves as both a main character and a huge supporting character for Shenhe as well, even though they didn't really have too many interactions. But her role in helping Shenhe as a character is huge, on top of her own role, right? And the third main character of this is an extension of that, right? Extension of Ningguang's character, because Ningguang's more of a representative, right? Which is the people of Liyue, the spirit of Liyue as a you know, region itself, right? So let's talk about that. Let's first talk about the easier ones, which is Shenhe herself, right? So Shenhe herself, obviously, she's the big main character. The first time we see her is over here, right, where she's getting threatened by these randos who were very, very lucky they did not lose their lives here, because they could have gotten, you know, very, very much hurt by Shenhe. As so they've our first interaction with Shenhe gives us a bit of insight into her personality. I know some people don't like this, right? She's a homicidal, you know, emotionally detached person, which again, if you don't like that's fine, right? But it does help bolster her personality as this character who has a lot of emotional detachments from whether the outside world or from other, you know, society or other human beings, because of the fact that of what her you know, what she went through, right? So there's a bit of a character personality foreshadowing into the later part of the story, where we actually get more into details of her story, her background, and all that stuff. You might say, okay, this might be a bit too much. Did they have to make her, like, you know, homicidal, right? Okay, maybe not. They could have maybe went with another way with it, but I don't know. Some people think it's fun as well, so yeah, who cares? The main point is it's just a device, right? It's just a, you know, character device to help a lot of this going forward. And obviously we help her, not that she really needed help, and ended up obviously in her helping us instead in this quest. So a lot of this part especially, right, you know, really talks about what her character, you know, a lot of her well, I don't want to say issues, I don't know what the right word is, but she doesn't know there's laws and stuff, right? Because that's the thing about Liyue as a region, right? It's the like city of its contracts, right? That's the whole thing, right? Obviously, laws very, very, very important in this particular case, and well, she didn't know nothing about that, right? She was about to wipe those clowns off the face of this this flat Earth. So that's again very, very cool and all. Almost murdering those guys, slightly unfortunate. And then we see a more of this character trait as well later on, right? When she has to eat the stuff, right? She talks about here's a very, very important part, right? She Paimon and Traveler asked her about like, why is she like eating all this food? You just take a bite and then you just go like somewhere else, right? Is that bit of a waste of money, right? Obviously, a very Paimon question to ask. But yeah, she answers with because I'm not sure whether I will remain here in the future, right? Or not. And yeah, she talks about it here, right? Food of the mortal realm is most delicious, but should I return to the mountains, yearning for the food here shall only pose an obstacle to my continued spiritual development. Obviously, she's still devoted to her spiritual development, whatever that really means, right? And obviously, her responsibilities to you know, the Adeptus, Cloud Retainer, etc., and her role in this in their world, right? So from this, we see that, you know, she does have some, you know, she does like, you know, stuff from the mortal realm, definitely, but she still obviously she knows herself that she has to go back to their world, right? And you know, you can't have too much emotions lingering in this world, and yeah, she's just trying off. I don't know, she's pretty funny. As a character, I like her a lot. Anyways, so yeah, here is the I guess the most important plot, you know, device that they use over here, which was, we know that Shenhe has these problems as a character, right? Well, not problems. Just, I don't know what's a better way to put it without it sounding rude. I mean, it's nothing against her; she's fine either way. But you know, her character, starting off, obviously does have a lot of these issues, right? And we know that eventually, she turns into something else, or she's trying to, right? At least, and there has to be a certain event that propels her to that point, from point A to point B in terms of the character, right? And in this case, it is the rebuilding of the Jade Chamber, which in the process of that, obviously we had the boss come out and she saves everyone, etc., etc. So the Jade Chamber is a really, really nice, it's honestly a perfect way of, one, building Shenhe's character, and two, building Ningguang and the Liyue's characters. That's the central sort of conflict that happens, right? That all these characters have to overcome, right? Shenhe, Ningguang, etc., right? Have to overcome, even Yunjin as well to an extent, right? To get to higher places in terms of, again, their own characters, right? And in here she starts to, you know, decide to help us, and that also again shows that she has a lot of you know, human sides to her, despite seeming sometimes quite emotionally vapid or devoid. Vapid's not probably the best term, but you know, devoid of a lot of these human emotions. But she definitely has them, right? She has at least a bare minimum of social skills, right? And yeah, talking with Xingqiu over here, right? Obviously best boy, etc., etc. There's nothing too much I want to talk about that. I just wanted to mention how much I love Xingqiu. That's all. Right, but it's just a small part that that shows Shenhe's knowledge of a lot of the Adepti stuff, which makes people, you know, especially Xingqiu, obviously a very, very incredibly smart person, sort of like suspect her her origins or identity, right? And I guess Traveler to an extent as well, probably would have known. So anyways, moving on. So the next big, and by big I mean physically big, like plot point was after the domain, we get the, I think it's called Plostride or something, the big stone floaty thing that makes the Jade Chamber, you know, to the moon. Not that it actually touched the moon, but yeah, obviously it just shows that she's inhumanly strong, right? Has inhuman strength, very, very, very powerful, can take a lot of stuff, right? And quite capable. A lot of people talk about her. Very, very cool. Everyone loves her, as we do, right? And the actual like big plot point for Shenhe is when we talk to Cloud Retainer, right? Obviously having raised Shenhe herself. So this was a big point when we actually knew that, well, she's not actually an Adeptus, for one, as many would suspect, right? And also that, and here is another thing that they, you know, when they were talking about, oh well, why would you guys think that, you know, Shenhe's an Adeptus? And Paimon's answer over here was, well, to start with, her problem solving methods are extremely direct, which is a thing that happens with a lot of these, you know, Adeptuses, right? If you look at, you know, Xiao sometimes, not always, right? He's sometimes reserved, but, you know, Xiao sometimes, Cloud Retainer, right? Like they're slightly, you know, direct, right? But more importantly, over here, Cloud Retainer talks about, well, she was always like this, right? You know, that's part of the character herself. And then she goes to talk about like her Shenhe's like actual origins, right? When she first, you know, found Shenhe in the cave, and obviously it was very, very, like Paimon said, very dangerous situation, and talks about how capable Shenhe was, right? It's mostly to paint this very, very sad story and to set up for later what happens or we see in the village, right? And then Cloud Retainer talks about you know, the homicidal instincts, which you know, led to the hair thing, whatever it's called, etc. Right? What's that thing called again? The hair? I have no clue. But anyways, they talked about it, and okay, they just call it red ropes in English. All right, so they bound it with red ropes, etc., and that's how they got her under control of it. And then, you know, it's part of the ropes that, you know, makes her seem like not as human sometimes, right? With you know, in terms of like expressing emotions and interacting with other people and such. And then over here we get another foreshadowing of the, you know, the event later on, right? Which is they keep on dropping a lot of these foreshadows throughout the story leading up to the big boss fight, which what you saw in the trailer. So I expect a lot of people were you know, suspecting that was going to be the case, right? All right, so here's the next very, very important part, which introduces Yunjin, obviously, to us, which best girl, by the way. But that aside, they talk about, you know, her play, which is which is just a fantastic, I think, in my opinion, again, way of adding a second narrator in there to the story for a few reasons why I think this is very, very good. Obviously, she comes in and talks about her play, which is basically the story of Shenhe, you know, herself, right? But it's not completely it, right? That's the great thing about it, and it's just a very good a cultural reference to a lot of you know, myths in real life, right? A lot of IRL, you know, stories, myths, legends. A lot of them, again, I can't speak for other places, but you know, as a person who grew up in China, right? That's how a lot of them work. A lot of the myths and legends, they come from actual events that happened, but through the process of storytelling, whether it's oral history, oral storytelling, right, or you know, different forms of arts to recreate or retell stories, right? Opera, obviously one of the big ones. For example, the Three Kingdoms, right? Three Kingdoms is probably the best example of this, right? So it started out obviously a historical, you know, event, historical time period. So many different, you know, artistic ways. If you guys don't know, like, Three Kingdoms, the Romance of Three Kingdoms, one of the most well-known Chinese novels, right? It's about the historic period during the Three Kingdoms period, right? All that stuff. If you guys play Dinosaur, you probably know, right? But that's a great, that's the best example of this, right? It started as, again, a historical event. Obviously, a lot of these true things that happened, all historical, and then throughout thousands of years, right, of different forms of art to retell stories, right? Whether it's novels, Romance of the Three Kingdoms, one of the most, you know, again, well-known novels. A lot of Chinese opera renditions of a lot of different scenes and things that happened, right? That's, again, super, super popular. One of the, you know, a lot of the most popular Chinese opera plays come from the Three Kingdoms, right? They change the stories and mythify it. Is that a word? But yeah, for example, one of the main characters in there, if you guys do know, Zhuge Liang, right? He's a fine politician, strategist, but then through the different renditions and story tellings and retells of the story, they make him seem like this absolute just god wizard, you know, crazy, like this guy's like, he knows everything, right? Which obviously far from the truth, but that's how cultural storytelling works, right? Again, especially in places with such long and rich cultural history like China, right? So I thought they did Yunjin very, very well, right? Because storytelling, again, a lot of times, especially artistic renditions, these are not 100%, you know, as the you know, as how they were, how the events were, right? It's a lot of them just based on hearsay and through different artists, right? She got it from you know, her father, right? The story changes, and you see that especially in the end where she you know, changed it herself, right? Added that appendix at the end, right? And due to her experiences through the story, and it's just a great way of incorporating storytelling, right? Cultural storytelling inside of this to also support as a second narrator to Shenhe's story, right? So we have what we see, what the audience see, what's actually happening, right, with the story, because obviously we were with her every step of the way, well, at least from this forward, right? And then you also have the artistic cultural rendition narrative from Yunjin's side as well, right? So very, very cool stuff. I love it, honestly. So yeah, they put so much thought into the story, it's crazy. Yeah, and she talks about it more over here, right? And again, real locations, the story is dramatized, right? Whatever the word is. It's my second language, folks. All right. and that's the main core of this whole story, right? As Yunjin says over here, it's the story of a girl becoming a hero, and that's Shenhe's story, right? Everyone, well, I wouldn't say everyone, but if you took literature class or writing class, the classic story structure of the hero's journey, right? The whole slope thing that your professors tell you, right? The hero's story, you start off, the conflict, there's a climax, and peak fall, etc., right? And that's a very, very classic standard structure for, in this case, Shenhe's story, right? And that's what's her character's. I love Paimon. Her stories. I don't remember what I was going to say. Yeah, and she talks about it over here, right? And again, as you could see, clearly over here, the story that Yunjin tells, and at this point, she doesn't know obviously about Shenhe being that person, right? It's completely not what happened, right? I wouldn't say completely, but some truths and some obviously more made up parts of the story. And it's just very, very interesting seeing Yunjin tell this story and also have Shenhe over there, who obviously experienced it, and listening to it and going through it emotionally as well, right? So, and that's where the inner conflict for Shenhe comes from, right? Over here you have Yunjin talking about, oh, she just came out with this exorcist blade, boom, knocked out the whatever, right? And courageously, etc. You're using all these flowery, great language to describe it, and even though on the other hand, Shenhe's version of her own story is obviously much more tragic and unfortunate. And here's also a very, very important part of this. So in the lyrics of the opera, obviously at the end, right, as she says, the end is, and so destined to grace the mortal realm for, what's this translation, bro? Anyways, whatever. I'll give them a break. It's very, very hard to translate ancient Chinese, because the opera is actually sung in they use like ancient Chinese instead of modern what we use nowadays, right? So it's I'll give them a break. It's hard to translate. And so destined grace the mortal realm, but for a brief moment she vanished like a wisp of smoke into thin air. And that's the ending of the story in there, right? So there are different sides of this, right? On one hand, the heroic part is obviously much more not as how it actually was with Shenhe's story, right? It's again much more unfortunate, but at the end, it's the ending is quite tragic as well, right? Because she she could never come back to mortal realm, all that stuff, right? And then it's like she never existed to anyone, right? Other than again the heroic acts that help save everyone, and the fact at the end she changed that, right? Is what makes the whole story, her character much have that very, very much needed development and step, right? Yeah, at this point she's, oh yeah, I love the story, but reality not as flowery or as the character is not as she said brave or courageous as they think, doesn't deserve all the praise she is given. Again, obviously she's referring to herself. And that's the story, right? And Yunjin over here talks about what I was talking about earlier, opera, which is again another form of cultural storytelling. In this case, always interpretation of events purports to portray a certain degree of deviation from truth is always inevitable, which is again true, right? And again, it's not always a bad thing, right? Like it's not a bad thing because there is value to art in of itself, right? Even if it's not a truthful retelling of certain events, right? Like if people were to just read a history book, it's very, very boring, uninteresting, doesn't many times not as inspiring, and obviously that's where art comes in to make it more useful, right, in terms of whether it's to inspire, to start dialogues or whatever, right? And yeah, Yunjin talks about it over here. Father wrote the script for the play. Suppose his intention was to inspire his audience with the character of the divine damsel. This part was my favorite part of the whole story. Like, yeah, again, the cutscene was fantastic. Great, you know, opera, love it all. This was my favorite part of the entire story, the village scene, right? First of all, when I first saw it, I was like, holy, what? No way they're actually, you know, doing this, right? At first I thought it was gonna be like, that's like her dad still alive, which you know, it wasn't, but still, you know, it was uncle I don't actually know what his Chinese name is, Ming-chun or something, I don't know. And again, my favorite part was just looking at all these notes that the parents left over here, right? And you know, you get an insight into her father and her parents, I guess, mindset, why they did what they did, right? And not saying it was good, obviously not. It was not very good at all, right? But you know, you could see it was from a place where, well, first of all, delusion, and also the love for his wife, and to try to bring her back, ban her, etc., etc. It just adds on to the tragic part of Shenhe's story, right? Which is, you know, here's where Yunjin does realize that Shenhe is the divine damsel in the story. The big contrast over here, obviously, is in the story. It's like, you know, she was there. She knew everyone was in trouble. She came out, be the hero, and defeat the calamities. And again, in reality, she never had a choice, right? Shenhe never had a choice. She was put into that position. I mean, she was a kid, right? Again, very, very, very tragic in comparison. Yeah, like Yunji observed here as well. Like, damn, like this is actually pretty dark for her. I'm not saying, you know, Genshin hasn't had, you know, pretty dark story plots before, but obviously they did. You know, especially with the dance left one, etc. But you know, this is like borderline disturbing. Like look at this, bro. Branch family of exorcists used to live in the east of village. Around 2 weeks, mother died of disease. Young daughter went missing shortly after the father hanged himself on a tree in the yard of his own house, because probably, you know, the regrets of he probably thought that his daughter was dead. Let's be real, right? And goddamn, this is tough, man. Dude, it kind of reminds me, if you guys watched it, right? Which was, I love the movie, by the way. It's my favorite MCU movie. I did a pretty in-depth movie review about that as well. It kind of reminds me, like the Shang-Chi, right? Wenwu's story. Obviously, I do think Wenwu is a much more loving father. He actually wanted good for his family, which is why I do think he's a very, very compelling character. And this father is kind of a bit too obsessed on the other end. Oh, it's pronounced Mingjun. All right, this part was super sad. Honestly, this part was super sad. Right? They were talking about his dad. He was trying to apologize. He's like, nah, you don't have to apologize. And then he asked, do you still hate him? And he's like, I don't know how I feel. I'm told my fate is to bear the curse of the calamity, so my master bound my soul with red robes to curb my aggression, but also to dampen my emotions, making me dispassionate like an adepti. And so if you ask me how I feel about the past, if I hate my father or not, the truth is I feel nothing at all. This is super sad. But you know, that's the unfortunate, again, side effects of the red robes, right? Which, here's a another very important part, right? So Yunjin talks about, well, I just saw the diaries. Oh my god, that's, you know, your story is so effed up, right? All that stuff, and I'm sorry, I'm gonna like change it, deviates from the truth like way too much. I can't, you know, just dismiss it, like your lived experience, right? favorite my father's fiction, etc. And then over here, Shenhe says, "Oh, it's okay. I like your version." And here's very, very important. Here's the most important part for Shenhe's character, right? She says, "My master once said that the day that I learned how to use my strength for the good of others is the day that I could truly become part of human society." So the main theme for her character is belonging, right? It's finding her place in society, because again, she's ever since she was a child, she's been with the Adepti, and she wasn't with the rest of society and all that stuff, and to her goal and her wish, obviously, that she expressed with Yunguang at the end there as well, was that to one day become part of human society, right? To cease, because she yearns for this sense of belonging, right, to the rest of this world, and she's always had trouble finding her place, right? And again, over here, Master says, "The day I learn how to use my strength for the good of the others is the day I can truly become part of human society." And this in response to what Yunjin said, right? Over here, she talks, right? So there's two things over here, right? So one is for her personally to be brave enough to stand up to protect others, just like the girl in the opera, right? And the other thing is for the story, what helps others, right? Because like, if Yunjin tells a story, if Yunjin tells the opera of what actually happened, what purpose does that serve, right? What, everyone's gonna get depressed. It's sad. People feel bad for her, right? But it doesn't really serve any like real impact, right, in society, rather than a more heroic and inspiring story, right? And obviously it does get fixed at the end, because they added some truth to it, because after all the stuff they went through, a lot of the inspiring aspects of the story were also real events, right? So you have both of them, and it it's the way of the storytelling. There's value in both, again, art and reality, right? You could find value in both, and they could always, depending on how you use it, obviously, add a lot of impact and inspiration to humans. Like literally over here, Shenhe is talking, I want to be that the girl in your story one day, right? It already inspired Shenhe herself, so imagine all the other people that it could also inspire as well. Yeah, again, you can see over here her question to Ningguang is asking her if she could ever fit in Liyue Harbor. And then Ningguang's answer over here, the key to whether if you or not yourself can develop is if you could develop a sense of belonging to Liyue Harbor, right? And then she further expands, to become fond of a place, to feel part of it always requires a reason, right? Perhaps someone you've met or something you've experienced here, or perhaps you enjoy the atmosphere of Liyue and you'll be accustomed to it, right? And in short, everyone needs a reason to stay, and hope you could find yours soon. And it was very, very soon that she found her reason, which is the awesome, cool cutscene over here, where she found two things that collided with each other, that brought us to the conclusion of Shenhe's arc over here, right? Because she got both. She found a reason for her belonging, and she also fulfilled what Cloud Retainer said, right? The day once you use your power for the good, help others, which both of these in this one event, which is again why Ningguang's super important in here, right? The whole Jade Chamber, the planning, etc., right? That again propelled Shenhe to fulfill her character arc, which is very, very cool. Also very, very cool, this cutscene, right? Yeah, fantastic cutscene. You guys already, you know, saw it. I kind of want to watch it again, but this video's already going a bit too long than I was initially planning it to. But I don't know, it's just a very, very great story. Lots of things to talk about. Obviously, it's so good. So good. Her eyes are so pretty. Oh my god. It's incredible. Dude, this flashback is so good as well. Oh my god. Nah, this is one of the best cutscenes in the game so far. There's a lot of great cutscenes. This is definitely one of the best ones. Yeah. So good. Let's just, you know what? Yeah, screw it. Let's have the video be a bit longer. Let's watch it here again because I really want to watch it. The music too, the erhu in the background. Dude, I love erhu. It's one of my favorite instruments. For those who don't know, it's a like a 2-string Chinese instrument. People call it a Chinese violin, which it kind of sounds like it to an extent, but it's fantastic. I love it. Oh my god, so good. Dude, the music is so good. Everything is so good. Look at this, man. Oh my god, I could watch this so many times. I could watch this so many times. Alright. Look at this. Look at this. This one also looks like that shot from Shang-Tsung in the end when he goes down. Anyways, that's basically the you know, conclusion of the Shenhe arc, right? She comes from a place where abandoned as a child by her father deliberately, right? Where then her whole family died, basically. Well, not her whole family. I mean, his cousin, nephew. What's it called? Nephew, right? Still alive, right? Still kicking. He's yeah, great and all that stuff. And then slowly, you know, fulfills her character arc by finding a reason to belong, right, to Liyue with all the other people, as well as you know, the major event and her, you know, using her powers for the good, helping the people of Liyue harbor, right, etc. So that's Shenhe, right? Again, very, very simple, right? Well, I wouldn't say super simple, but, you know, relatively simple character arc over there in comparison to oh, at the end, oh, we do have to talk about this, I guess. At the end, in the in her, so good. Again, 5K subs and I'll sing this, okay? Where she changed the ending over here to add her own, you know, heroic stories. Shout out Paimon as well over there, right? Because here's the thing, right? Shenhe herself found inspiration from Yunjin's, or I guess Yunjin's father's story that led her to further expand and complete the story. Like, this is just, it fits together so well. They put so much thought into this. It's crazy. It's crazy how well this story is constructed. Yeah, thanks to you, the Divine Damsel of Devastation is a more nuanced tale than ever, which is totally correct, in my opinion, right? Plays an ending, but life goes on. I believe you'll find a way to fit in Liyue Harbor. Oh my god, I love her so much. Fantastic stuff, fantastic stuff. So anyways, now let's talk about the second main character, Ningguang. I have to go through these a bit faster. We're like, it's 40 minutes in. Oh my god, I did not expect to talk this much about Shenhe. So Ningguang, obviously, so leaving off from the Liyue, the last, you know, big, I guess, Liyue arc, which was, we had the ocean thing, whatever it's called, the big Hydra attack, and in that, we beat them, but it was with the power of the Adepti. We had Xiao in there, we had Cloud, we had all these, we had got all the Adepti in, right? And with the power of the Adepti and also us as well, right? Ourselves, Ningguang, etc., all the people, together we helped defeat the enemies, which, you know, showed that Liyue doesn't need the protection of Rex Lapis, right, anymore. They can handle things themselves, partly, right? But because they still needed the Adepta's help. And in this story, Ningguang, again, she's basically a representative of the Liyue people, right? Obviously not every single one, but just overall, she's the representative of the people of Liyue, right? Usually what her you know, ideology is pretty predominant around most people here, if you talk with a lot of them, right, as well. So what they're trying to do over here is, well, what else further can we do? We don't, you know, we've proved we don't need Rex Lapis anymore, right? And now we have to prove that we don't need the Adepti anymore. Just with us humans ourselves, we can find a way to protect our home and each other. And obviously, again, they succeeded with that in the end, right? And yeah, but the interesting part about that is how I feel how similar it is. If you again reflect it back to Chinese society and mythology as well, because if you look at statistics, China is one of the least religious countries in the world, right? In terms of, you know, religion. Obviously, there's a lot of other factors in that, right? I think one of the big ones, or not, I think, you know, one of the big ones is that a lot of the religions, they were not really exposed to it because they had a rather, I guess, closed door policy up to the Qing dynasty. Obviously, it got invaded eventually, etc., and then after that, with the Taiping Revolution, etc., they started opening up to a lot of more religious, you know, influences. But, you know, before that, it was closed off mostly to the rest of the world, and a lot of the influence didn't get there. And obviously, after that, when we had the new China, you know, revolution, modern day China revolution, a lot of religion, you know, just ideologically was not really, you know, fit for what the what they were going for ideologically, right? But the very, very interesting thing about that is does not mean Chinese people, you know, culturally don't believe in mysticism, right? Its myths are huge in China, right? And that's the and it influences a lot of things, not just cultural decisions, right? Life decisions, a lot of, you know, sometimes even political, societal decisions, and influence all comes from a lot of these again myths, right? In terms of, you know, these gods, well, not like gods, but like these because usually a lot of Chinese mythical beings are usually, again, used to be real people, right? But then they deify them, right? For example, Guan Yu, right? Obviously real person, etc., but they deify him. Same thing with, again, people like Zhuge Liang, etc., right? Tang Sanzang, all these like people that get deified, many often are actually, you know, real people, right? So that's the very, very interesting part of it. And the thing with what ties in over here is the point I'm trying to get is that even though Ningguang and the people of Liyue successfully proved that they could protect themselves, right, without the help of Adepti, etc., they still used a lot of influence from the Adepti, right? First of all, Shenhe, obviously, you know, raised by the Adepti, right? All their visions obviously come, you know, from either Rex Labs, etc., right? the elemental vision, all that stuff, and also a lot of the small like details. For example, if I could find it, when we are talking to, let's see, because there's a lot of really nice like dialogues that you could have missed if you didn't talk to them. Let's see, where's the some of these cameo appearances, right? For example, the Kuqing cameo appearance, right? Which again, I didn't talk to her in my first playthrough. I only found out about it like afterwards, right? If you talk to Kuqing over here, she talks about how she's setting up these I don't know what these are called in English, the Guizhongjis, right? They're, what are they called? Tell me, please. the ballista like things, right? What are these called, bro? yeah, the Guizhong ballistas. So it's a new type of Guizhong ballistas, and these are built by humans, right? But where it came from was Ningguang commissioned an expert to dismantle the study and Guizhong ballistas and design an improved version based on the original, right? So even though these are created by humans, right, a lot of these are still, you know, heavily influenced by some of what, you know, the Adeptus, again, these mythical beings that left on us, right? Again, it goes back to the theme of how fiction and stories and art can influence and inspire humans, right? And that's, you know, again, the value of art in of itself, right, on human society. So yeah, they talk about a lot of this stuff. Again, Shenhe herself, you got the Guizhong ballistas, right, and all that. So yeah, it's just and here's where we see that, right, as she says it directly. Also progress like wife. Oh my god, bro. Anyways, Beidou was the one who sensed, right, it coming, and then we want to build the Jade Chamber to get it out. So here is the part. First of all, oh my god, what a girl boss. I love her so much. But also, she mentioned over here, right? Paimon says, well, let's go fetch the Adepti. We need our, you know, all hands on deck. We need, like, you know, thing was scary. Last time they obliterated that thing, right? This time, let's go get the Adepti. We'll beat their ass again, right? Etc. And then Ningguang over here says, no. In this human age, the people of Liyue, because Rex, you know, Lapis is dead now, right? Supposedly. And then she's like, in the those are exact words again. In this human age, the people of Liyue must find a way to overcome this crisis on our strength alone, and completely girl bosses this part. And yeah, and you see all the different people of Liyue Harbor, right? Coming together, everyone with their own strengths, etc., you know, trying to help and bring this thing down. Even very interesting detail, even Ganyu over here, which, you know, Adeptus, right, herself. But the very interesting detail, if you look through the whole cutscene, right, Ganyu was actually just there. She didn't really do anything. Right, if you look at obviously she might have did something off screen, but it's what, you know, they're trying. It's the narrative that they're selling that is important over here, right? She did, I think, three shots of her, right? First of all, a shot of her they're standing, and this guy went like crazy, big tsunami incoming, and then Ganyu over here. Was it here or was it before? Anyways, who cares? Let's just watch this again. Looks cool. But yeah, the tsunami came. There's a scene where Ganyu rose up her bow. Oh, there it is, right? But never fired it. Because, hey, what are you gonna do? You're gonna shoot a tsunami? I mean, I guess you could like freeze it. But Obviously the person who froze it at the end over here was Shenhe, right? And then at the end, when when Shenhe dealt with the tsunami, you see this scene of Ganyu putting the bow down, right? Presumably without fighting without firing the arrow. And obviously this part looks cool, super cool, love it, etc. So good. And yeah, she lowers the bow, boom, it goes down, and then it's just up to us as Shenhe, right? So yeah, I thought this story overall was a fantastic, built up some fantastic characters for, again, both Ningguang herself, as well as Shenhe, and a really fitting temporary ending, or I guess pause, or temporary conclusion to the Liyue arc, from relying on Rex Lapis to relying on the all the way down to relying to the on the people of Liyue's harbor's own power to protect themselves and protect their homes, protect each other, etc. And also the commentary on fiction and how art inspires a lot of how it inspires people. I thought it was very nice. The cultural references with, again, Chinese culture as well, just all very well done. I love it. Like a lot of societal things, right, that you see in here, whether it's mysticism, all that stuff, right? Chinese cultural arts with the opera and all that stuff. So yeah, love the story quest or interlude chapter. It's so good. Genshin has so much good story. So yeah, let me know, guys, think in the comments down below. I guess if you guys want to see more story, if there's any other story you want me to talk about, right? I prefer not to talk about the ones that aren't done yet. Like, for example, the Inazuma one, which is it's clearly not done, right? Clearly not done. Hopefully next update expands a bit on that. I mean, if that was the ending for the Inazuma story quest, that's kind of terrible, because none of the characters really had a in my opinion a satisfying resolution yet. So I have high hopes for the next Inazuma chapter update, which again hopefully comes out next with Yae Miko, obviously. So that's good. But yeah, anyways, that's really this one, I guess. Hope y'all gentlemen guys think in the comments down below. Like, enjoy this video, subscribe to the channel for some more Genshin Impact content in the future. Again, we'll try out our C6 Yunjin showcase video, hopefully tomorrow. So stay tuned for that. And yeah, have fun, folks. And there we go. We have the Genshin channel up and running now.